July 2000. Still working at Frame Art Galleries as a picture framer. Still either in Strongsville or Westlake. Don't remember which location I'm at. So let's just jump into the books that I read in July of 2000. And there's going to be a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Fair warning. First up, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Resurrecting Ravana by Ray Garton. Yes, the great horror author Ray Garton. And in this book, let's see, I'm looking at my notes here, obviously. Midterms at Sunnydale High, and everybody's feeling the pressure, Willow especially, and she thinks her friends are turning against her, and the horrible things were happening to other students, of course, because it's Sunnydale, and there's somebody trying to resurrect a Hindu demon, and Buffy and the Scooby Gang have to stop them. It's Ray Garton, so you know it's going to be good. But let's move on. I don't know what else to say about that book. Next up, we have Tom Clancy's Op Center, Mirror Image. And all it said on the cover was created by Tom Clancy and Steve Piesanik. Not sure how to pronounce his name. So it doesn't actually say who it's written by, unless it's written by the two of them, but it just says created by. Anyway, it's part of the Op Center series, and the Russian president wants a democracy, true democracy in Russia, but there's groups, criminal groups, old hardliners that want to return things to the way they used to be. So the Op Center is called in, and they discover that Russia has an Op Center of their own, a mirror image, if you will. So, of course, the two are going to clash. It's, a thriller. Not as dry as some of Tom Clancy's stuff, so I don't know how much of a hand he actually had in writing this. But I feel like, international thrillers with more of a military lean to them, then this is for you. I followed that up with Warhammer Troll Slayer by William King. And this is a Gotrek and Felix novel, except it's more interconnected stories forming a whole. Gotrek, this all takes place in the Warhammer world, regular Warhammer, not Warhammer 40k. Gotrek is a dwarf, I believe, who committed some crime, and now he wants to find a glorious death in battle, just killing monsters and stuff, but he's ready to die. Felix is a highly educated dropout who's traveling with Gotrek and chronicling his adventures, and this is just a whole bunch of their adventures. There's a series of these books, and this is, I don't know, an interesting introduction, I suppose, to Warhammer, if it's something you're not familiar with, but you want some crazy, over-the-top fantasy that's very violent, has maybe, a lot of it has a military bent to it, and it's a huge world that's been built by many game creators and many authors. So Warhammer Troll Slayer by William King. I followed that up with Fatalis by Jeff Rovin. And this is a book I wish I had so I could reread it, because it's right up my alley. This is basically saber-toothed tigers loose in Los Angeles. There's some sort of development, some construction project going on, which awakens a bunch of saber-toothed tigers that have been, I don't know, I can't remember if they were frozen or what the deal was, but anyway, they get loose and they're killing people in Los Angeles. My kind of book. Apparently this was the second Jeff Rovin novel, cryptozoological novel is what they said on the Amazon. I have the first one they mentioned called Vespers, which is bats killing people in New York. But what I read was Fatalis. Saber-tooths killing people in Los Angeles. Then we have, excuse me, X-Men Legends, edited by Stan Lee. I thought I had this one, but I have a different X-Men anthology, and that's what this is, an anthology of X-Men stories. I believe there's 12 stories in here, um, focusing on different characters in the X-Men universe. And as I always say, not the biggest X-Men fan, but always happy to read comic book novels, comic book stories that are prose. And so X-Men Legends, if I ever run across it, I am going to pick it up. I'll add it to my collection. Then we have, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Prime Evil by Diana G. Gallagher. And in this one, there's a substitute teacher at Sunnydale High. There's quite often substitute teachers. The death rate in Sunnydale in general is pretty high. So there's a substitute teacher. Her teacher's pets are all sort of outcast students that were never really friends before, but now they've sort of formed this friend group, and they're the teacher's pets. And Buffy's got a bad feeling about her, thinks she might be a witch. What do you think? It's Sunnydale. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Is this teacher going to turn out to be a witch? Odds are pretty good. All right, here's a book I do have. So next up was Excavation by James Rollins. This is very cool, I think, because this is a triple die-cut cover. I don't know if you can see. We open that up, and then I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. That opens up, and then there it is. So you've got 3 layers of cut to reveal just a little more each time. And this is your basic James Rollins hidden society kind of thing. I think the title kind of tells you, gives you an idea. You got your archaeologists, your explorers deep in the jungles. Let's see, South American jungles in this case. And they're going to find something that's never been seen for thousands and thousands of years. I love these books. James Rollins, fantastic writer of thrillers. Really, really enjoy these. And this is, let's see, let's find that page that will list his books. Wow, is this his second book? It only has one other James Rollins book listed, Subterranean. So this could be, very well be, his second novel. And he does a lot of this lost civilization kind of stuff, but they're all different, and they're all pretty exciting with interesting characters, well written. They're up there with a lot of the Douglas Preston Lincoln Child stuff. So Excavation by James Rollins. Then we have Knight Templar by Leslie Charteris. Not sure how you say his name. This is a Simon Templar, the Saint book. Saint, best known as there's the TV series starring Roger Moore. I don't know how many people know the movie with Val Kilmer, because I don't know how many people saw it. I've never seen it, and I'm a fan of the Saint. But the Saint is like a gentleman thief kind of guy who always seems to get into these messes, so he ends up solving crimes and things. But in this book, which I think is relatively early in the series, he's came out in 1930, and he's basically trying to stop someone from starting World War II. There's a guy who wants to, control the world, wants to control oil, and there's this woman and this guy that are getting married, and their family's going to merge their oil companies to make a huge oil conglomerate. And the bad guy wants to kidnap the woman, force her to marry somebody else so he can control the oil somehow and take over the world, and it might start a world war when there's already been one. This would be the second one. And the Saint somehow gets mixed up in all of this, Simon Templar. Fun stuff. I really like the character. I like these books. And I like this kind of thing. It's pulpy. I don't know if it would be considered pulp, like Doc Savage, Tarzan, that kind of pulp, but very fun. Next up, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Here Be Monsters by Cameron Doki. And in this one, there are these sort of preppy, but old fashioned preppy new students, two of them, brothers, a little bit too attached to their mother. Turns out they're vampires. Buffy kills them. Mama's not happy. Um, that's basically what's going on. If you're a Buffy fan, these books are almost always worth the time to read. You know, it gives you a little bit of that Buffy fix. Then we have a book I thought I might have, but I don't. Turns out, if I do, I have no idea where it's at. But it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Monster Book, by Christopher Golden, Stephen R. Bissett, and Thomas E. Snagowski. And it's a nonfiction book that's basically just a guide to all of the Buffy monsters, all of the lore, how they were, what the people in the show did, you know, how they changed like vampire lore and how they decided to use this monster and tweak them a little bit. I mean, it's the Monster Book. It is what it says it is. All about the monsters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was the penultimate book. I can't believe I forgot to say that. And the last book, The White House Connection by Jack Higgins. And this is a Sean Dillon book. Sean Dillon, ex-IRA, Irish Republican Army gunman, is now working for the Prime Minister. And there's this sweet little old lady who wants revenge because her son was killed by this terrorist group. I'm sure they don't see themselves as terrorists. So she's killing off these people. But they include like a senator. There's the White House connection. Some pretty prominent people are in this group. The Sons of Ireland or something. I can't remember. So Sean Dillon gets called in to figure out who's killing these people to begin with, protect this senator when he's visiting England, and put a stop to these assassinations. It's Jack Higgins. It's a thriller. They're very easy to read. Jack Higgins has like the smoothest, simplest style for a thriller writer, and I like the character of Sean Dillon. So, not a bad book, in my opinion. I highly recommend checking out Jack Higgins if you're into that sort of thing. I shouldn't have closed that because I didn't think of a question ahead of time. And now I have to go back and look at what I just talked about to see if anything comes to mind. I suppose let's go with this. This, again, might be a weird question that nobody can answer. What is the oldest book that you enjoy? You know, going with Thing of the Simon Templar, book came out in 1930. So, what is the oldest book that you enjoy? What is your favorite old book? You know what I'm trying to say. And I think right off the top of my head, my answer, I was initially thinking of pulps. Like, I love Tarzan of the Apes. Or, yeah, that's the name of the first book, Tarzan of the Apes. Absolutely love that book. But after that popped into my head first, I realized there's a much older book that I enjoy, that I've read multiple times, and that is Frankenstein or The Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley. So I think that's going to have to be my answer. I absolutely love that book. It's my favorite of the classics. So very simple this time for me anyway. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is my favorite really old book, or the oldest book that's one of my favorites. However you want to take the question. I could go, I could continue on and say Tarzan of the Apes, a lot of the pulps. I love the original the Doc Savage stuff. I don't remember exactly when the first Doc Savage book came out. I like H.G. Wells stuff and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dracula, but I've only read Dracula once. So absolutely Frankenstein. is my answer to this question. But what about you? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget... Nope, not the Low Budget Review Show, but on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is ErikSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am @ELSmith. That is all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.